right, hello everyone. Welcome to the 1883 Speaker Series. My name is Mike Wozniak, and I serve as the Director of the Department of Leadership Development. Over the next 18 minutes and 83 seconds, we'll explore a new lesson in leadership and gain valuable insights to support both our personal and professional growth. For today's speaker, please join me in welcoming the Executive Director of the Grand Forks Children's Museum, Katie Meyer.
Thank you, Mike. Good afternoon, everybody. A little bit about myself before I share on my experience in leadership and perspectives as I've gone through this journey is I'm from Grand Forks, born and raised. I attended UND for both my bachelor's degree and my master's degree. I haven't been here in a while, so looking at the union, it's a lot different. It looks much more exciting and engaging. I saw some of the things I have to interact here with students, and I think I would love to be here to come back to college just to try and see all these engaging activities again. So it's a beautiful campus. We have a beautiful community. I'm very proud to be part of Grand Forks and to be part of this community. I did try to leave one time. I had an interview lined up in some small town in Colorado. Fortunately, though, I overslept. I missed my train to catch a flight in Minneapolis, and I never made the job interview. I remember my dad saying, "You can leave, but you're not taking my grandkids with you." So I am one of 4 siblings that has been in Grand Forks this whole time, and I am proud to be here and proud to be part of the community. As you heard in my introduction, I'm the Executive Director of the Grand Forks Children's Museum. Some of you might say, well, what's that? Where is it located? I've never been there. We are working to build a children's museum in Grand Forks to make our community even better. And it's going to be located just down the road from campus at 1660 South 42nd Street, so just south of the Avera Center. And people ask, well, what do you do in your job? You don't have a museum yet. Well, there's lots to do. And what's cool about my job right now and my staff members' jobs is those will change as we open. So right now we're building a museum, we're designing exhibits, we're doing all sorts of different jobs that will change once we open the museum. I have 6 staff members. 3 of them are here right now. But we have a large board and volunteers that are actively working to build this museum and to bring it to fruition. We're almost to the goal. We're gonna break ground this spring. So if anybody is interested in hearing more about that, I'd love to tell you more about that. But I'm excited about this job because it brings me new skills, it brings me new opportunities, and it's gonna change again. I like change. It's exciting, it's scary, but it's exciting. So looking back on my younger years, I would not have projected that I would be in a leadership role today. I was a very quiet student, a very quiet teenager. For those of you that do know me, you were probably thinking, well, what the heck? You're not quiet at all. But I didn't like to talk. I didn't step out of my comfort zone. And I very, very rarely spoke up, even if I didn't agree with something. And I remained quiet into my adult years. But even with that quiet demeanor, I was always a hard worker, and I always put everything that I have into all that I do. Had my first job at the age of 14. My family always went to Itasca State Park to go hiking, and we walked into Subway to pick up sandwiches. And my dad looked at me and he said, "Hey, Katie, they're hiring, you should apply." I thought, I'm only 14, what do I need a job for? But my dad pushed me to do it, gave me the encouragement, so I applied. And 2 weeks later, even after the horrible phone call interaction that I had with the manager where I yelled at my brother to get off the other line, I was hired with the title of sandwich artist at Subway in Grand Forks. That's the right one. So I've now been in the service industry. I was 14 then. I'm gonna give you my age now. I've been in the service industry for 30 years, and I still continue to this day to play a little side role in the service industry as well. I've worked in 7 different restaurants in Grand Forks. 8 if you count, I worked at both Applebee's at one different time, so quite a few there. If any of you remember Pizza and Pasta, I was also there. Lots of different roles in the restaurant world. But my leadership journey started at Whitey's restaurant. For those of you that remember Whitey's, no longer here, but I was a shift supervisor there. Before taking on the leadership role of the title of shift supervisor, I first worked as a line cook, and then I moved to a server in the front. I also did bartending and charitable gambling in the booth at Whitey's. But all 4 of those positions helped me to understand the big picture of the leadership role that I was given and the title that I was given in order to successfully do my job as the shift supervisor. And then I taught kindergarten. I see one of my kindergarten parents here. And I would go to my parents' house for dinner, went there often for dinner, and my dad used to tell me, I'd tell him stories about my kindergarten, my class, and my kids, and all the excitement, or if I was frustrated with somebody, one of the coworkers or leadership at that time, or whatever it might have been. And my dad, I remember him looking at me and saying, Katie, you're gonna be a principal one day. And I thought, oh, Dad, you're nuts, you're crazy. I even told him that. I remember saying, you are crazy, Dad. There is no way that I wanna be a principal and lead people like that, and there is no way that I'm ever going back to college. College was hard for me. It took me a while, and I didn't enjoy it as much as I probably should have. I remember some of my high school friends saying, everything comes so easy to you in school. You never have to try. But what they didn't see is really behind my walls of my bedroom how hard I did have to try to work and succeed and get my grades. I did try, and it was worth the challenge. My notes are sticking together here. So I was a young mom. At the age of 17, I had my first child, and I had to work full-time job. So I worked either a full-time job or the equivalent of a full-time job with 2 or 3 all through my 5 years of college. Took me a little bit longer, but I also had to raise a child at that time. And that determination came from, okay, now I have a child. So that's when I decided I need to put everything in to all that I do, because not only my life depends on it, but my child's life depends on it. So going to school, graduating early, and then putting everything into all you have when you decide what you want to do with your life. So while I was teaching at Lewis and Clark, teaching kindergarten, my principal would come in. Always made me nervous, because he'd come and sit down and do your observation. Always a friendly guy, very friendly guy. But he'd come in with the words of, Katie, I have an opportunity for you. And it happened multiple times, and I think, oh boy, what does he want again? What extra task is he going to give me? What extra job? What meeting does he want me to attend? Or what curriculum committee am I going to be on now? And then I looked at it as extra work. I didn't look at it as an opportunity, as he so kindly always phrased it. But I would accept the opportunity, complete the task. And what I found is it was a job. It was a task that led me to new opportunities. It led me to new challenges, to new skills. I got to meet new teachers. I made new friends. I built my network and just built my skills, which was an amazing opportunity, and I do thank him for those opportunities that he gave me all those years. But at the time, I didn't see them as opportunities or leadership. I just saw them as another task and extra work. So after being a kindergarten teacher, I moved into a role called the Curriculum Technology Partner. And I'd been working with a team of leaders, but again, I didn't realize I was being a leader at that time. And we helped other teachers integrate technology into their instruction and their teaching. In this role, I worked at 3 different schools and at the district office. So I was under leadership of not just one principal, but 3 principals, but also the leadership at the district level. And I remember looking very closely at the attributes, the characteristics that they led with, and thinking, if I could just take that characteristic from this principal over here, and a little bit of the view from this principal over at this school, or the leader at the district office, the support from that person, pick out all the characteristics that I thought were very important for leadership, and I could wrap them all into one person. That is the leader that I would want to work for, or to work beside. And that's when I decided that I was going to go back to school to get my master's degree, which, of course, my dad was right. I went back to school. I had told him I never was. So I went back. I didn't know what I was going to go for, and I ended up in the educational leadership program at the University of North Dakota. Graduated early again. I was scheduled to graduate in May of 2016 with my master's degree, but I was having my 3rd child at the time, So I crammed it all in and I graduated. Well, I didn't graduate technically, but I got all my required coursework in by March, right before I had baby number 3, who's now 9. Again, crammed it all in. And after I graduated, I worked for 8 years as the principal of a private school. And as a private school principal, as a principal, you wear many hats. As a leader, you wear many hats. But as a private school principal, I felt that I wore more hats than I probably could handle on my head at one time. My last year as a principal, I also wore the hat of 3rd grade teacher because we couldn't find anybody to fit that role that year. I was part-time in that role, collaborating with one of the other teachers. And you just do what you have to do for the success of your organization as a leader. You fit all of the roles that you need to fit to make it successful because you believe in the mission and the passion, the vision behind your organization. Make sure I have my right one. You always have to be prepared in leadership. So for the last 2 years of my current role, I've been the executive director of the Grand Forks Children's Museum. When I first saw the job description, I thought, there's no way I am qualified for that job. There's no way I can do that. I'm not applying. I didn't believe in myself or what other people saw in me or what I was capable of. I almost didn't submit the application. And a good friend of mine looked at me and she said, Katie, you can do this. Submit the application. So I took that advice and I hit submit on the application. I was very glad I did. I'm very happy to be in the position I am. I'm excited about it. I have a great team of support because you need support as a leader, and we're moving forward together. When I told my family and friends that I was changing jobs and what my title would be, because there's always a title in a job, my little brother was super impressed. Executive, he said. Wow, Katie, that's awesome. But what I have learned about leadership over the years is that it's not about your title. Leadership is about showing up to be part of the team, rolling up your sleeves and getting dirty, doing the work with your team. Leadership is about finding the leadership qualities in others and helping them grow. As a leader, you always want to continue learning and reflecting. Sometimes I feel I reflect too much. For those of you that know me will probably agree with that. And then it's also important to have a growth mindset. You may not know it yet, you may not understand it yet, but you will get there and you will grow and you will learn. Qualities that I strive to show and I would love to see in other leaders as well. First one is kindness and respect. Showing kindness for others in your team and everyone that you interact with in your job is so important. Even in times of conflict, kindness is the key. If you're unable to be kind because there is conflict, you need to step away, take a breath, and come back to the table when you are ready to speak with kind words and respect. That is something that I not only take with me with my children, the kids that I used to teach, but everyone on my team, and I especially look at myself and make sure that I'm using kind words and respect in all my interactions. Another one is careful consideration. You don't want to just check the boxes, here's your list to do, check it and get it done. You need to take time to make decisions. Look at all the perspectives. Get feedback and get buy-in, especially when you're working with a team. You need to have their buy-in and work together. A leader should have compassion, empathy, and understanding for others and their situations and different stages in life. A leader must be flexible, but still hold standards to get the job done. We all know that life is messy and situations arise, so flexibility is a must. A leader must support its members. A leader must also know how to listen, not just talk. I do love to talk, but you have to actively listen, and that's something I've had to work hard at, not forming my response while I'm listening, because you're really not listening then. Stopping, pausing, and actively listening to what people are saying or what the conversation is about. And I know it's really hard because my mind never stops, so something I've worked hard on over the years. A leader also needs to be resilient, as you will go through many difficult and challenging times in your leadership roles. You must be able to adapt and to learn from those challenging situations. Focus on what you can control, not on what you can't control. Problem solve and view the challenges as growth opportunities. And a leader must be passionate about the mission and vision of the organization and their beliefs. But passion does not mean burnout. A leader must also set boundaries to create balance between work and home. When I stepped out of my education role and into the museum world, I was really afraid to ask a stupid question. And you always hear, oh, there are no stupid questions, just ask. But I was worried that if I asked a question that I didn't know, because I was learning about construction or accounting or design or all the different roles that we've taken on, that it would show my weaknesses. But what I have learned is that it shows that you're learning. I would actually write down on the top of my notes what I wanted to learn about because I didn't want to ask the question so that I could Google it later, because you can always find out from Google what they're talking about. But it's important to ask questions, and it shows your growth, and your passion is growing as well. Use your connections, use your resources, lean on those around you to help you understand and grow as a team. Coming from the education world, we helped our kids to be curious, to explore new opportunities, and to find the answers. As adults, we're not as curious as we were when we were kids. As a leader, you need to continue to be curious, continue to explore new ideas, and share your ideas with others. Be part of the team. One person can't do it all. We need to find the shining qualities in each of our team members and then place them in the position on the field where they belong. But if there's a team member that strives for a different position on the field, help them grow. Teach them those qualities. Help them find how they can acquire those qualities. Be their cheerleader. Everyone deserves a cheerleader. I know I have a lot. The most important title, though, that I've ever held as a leader is a mom, and those are my 4 children right there. When I became a teenage mom, like I said earlier, I knew my choices now depended on my life, my son's life, or his life depended on my choices, I should say. And that's when I decided I was determined, and I was going to put everything into all that I did. I graduated from high school early and began college knowing that I wanted to be a teacher from a young age. It took me 5 years to get my undergraduate degree, but then it took me another 3 years to actually land that job. And that took a lot of perseverance and failure and trying and continue going. So I have those 4 children right there. 2 of them are grown and out of the house, and 2 are elementary-aged children, still living at home, harassing me daily. The oldest is 27, and the youngest is 7. Over those years, I've had a lot of time to practice. Practice new strategies. I have failed, and I've tried again. And I have failed, and I have tried again. Failures, mistakes. Each one is a chance for you to learn and try again. As a parent, you constantly have eyes on you. They're watching you, they're listening to you, they're copying you, they're repeating you, and they're learning from you. This is true in a leadership position as well. Those that you are leading are watching you, listening to you, copying you, and learning from you. We know that we can't always be at our best, but we always should strive to put our best forward. In a leadership role, as a mom, leading a committee, being a principal, or an executive director, we need to lead by example, to model what the right choice is. Show our children, our staff members, what does respect look like? What does kindness look like? What does it sound like? Something I always told my students, and I continue to tell people today, always do the right thing, even when no one is watching. And also, always be kind. Looking back at my prior roles, I didn't see leadership in myself until my later years. I didn't believe in the leader of me until even later. Sometimes I still question it. The initial push of leadership came from my parents. The qualities that they instilled in me, what they taught me, the kindness, the understanding, the respect, the empathy. The qualities my dad saw in me. He encouraged me to push myself. Apply for that job at 14 years old. Try something new, or you're going to be a principal one day. I encourage you all to take time to reflect on your strengths and be proud of those strengths. Reflect on your needed areas of growth, and don't be discouraged or upset by your weaknesses or areas of growth. Continue to be curious and to learn. Look at your current role and responsibilities and identify which leadership qualities you currently have and grow with them. And so when the leader of your organization or team comes into you saying, I have an opportunity for you, walk through that door, accept the new opportunity, and continue to learn and grow. Stay curious, always lead with kindness, empathy, and respect for all. Oh, and don't forget, remember to be someone's cheerleader.
All right, amazing. Thank you, Katie. And thanks to everyone for coming. This was our final speaker for the fall semester, but we hope you'll join us when we return from winter break. Our first speaker in the spring will be the Dean of the College of Engineering and Mines, Dr. Ryan Adams, and that'll be on January 28th. Have a great rest of your semester and a wonderful winter break.